I'm not a doomer. I am a revolutionary optimist to my core. But that also means you got to start with the truth. And the truth is that just going out and feeling like you got to say something and like yell and shout about it and march about it, that is, I understand the reaction, but you aren't doing anything. We're going to have to be uncomfortable. We're going to have to do things that are different than we have done them before. We're going to have to cancel subscriptions. We're going to have to stop buying things. We're going to have to start sharing things with our neighbors. We're going to have to start doing buy nothing. We're going to have to actually shut the machine down. They're not going to stop at Gaza. And there will probably be reactions from other countries to what they're doing in Gaza. And when that happens, all of the lights and the switches on our tremendous military machine are going to get flipped. And the Death Star is going to start firing. And we're the ones working the levers on it. We're the ones who are giving the energy to it so that it can fire and destroy the next thing. Like it or not, that's the truth. If you want to help the people of Gaza, the people of Yemen, the people here in prisons, people here at our borders, we have to actually do something different and figure out how to shut this down, because they're not listening to us. They don't care about our votes. They don't care about our words. They don't care about our marches. They don't care. So if you do care, you'll need to find a different way to get involved. We all do.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Focused on Infinity Hour, more or less. I am Logan Grendel, your host and director, and the person who comes up with all of this nonsense, assisted, of course, by the always excellent and inimitable MYSTRYXX. I showed you that video, the one of the protest, because that is a video that I actually shot. Sometimes people will ask me, like, when I say stuff about how protest doesn't work, right? They'll be like, well, you haven't protested. No, I was there. That video is from 2014, my friends. 2014 is when I started to have the biggest part of my political awakening, okay? I was in the streets as often as possible. We were there at night. We were there when we had permits. We were there when we did not. We were there at times when the police were actively trying to corral us. It was kind of like watching two armies like try to outflank each other, because what they would do is they would go in the street, and they'd walk along the line of people who were on the sidewalk, and they would be with the megaphone like, if you block traffic, you will be arrested. And then what they would try and do is get us to block traffic so that they could make arrests. And I would see them reach in and just pull people out and arrest them. And what did that accomplish? We're here now, right? Right? There's a lot of fiery energy that comes as a result of the indignation that we feel when we see the grievous injustices wrought upon us by this system. And yeah, right? You need that fire. The fire is what gets you out of bed. But you dissipate that fire when you just go out into the street and yell as if somebody's fucking listening. Babes, they're not listening. We know that by now. We know that in our minds and we know that in our hearts at this point. And that's why I talk about practical strategies. That's why we're doing this show. This show is part of a practical strategy because YouTube doesn't belong to fucking Google. Remember, Google bought YouTube. YouTube is an idea that was in the zeitgeist. It was a place where people could upload videos of them educating, of them living, of them doing whatever the fuck. And other people could find it and watch it and enjoy it and learn from it and whatever, right? And the comment sections where people could talk, where people could just yell at each other, whatever people are going to do, right? And Google was like, they cooked with that one. I'm going to buy that, right? None of this belongs to them. Remember, the biggest platforms, the biggest companies don't create anything. They don't generate anything except for AI, which that's a whole different story, but they don't do anything. The best thing that people make that make a lot of money is phone calls, is acquisitions. That's what they fucking make, okay? Remember, the internet belongs to us. This is ours. This is us. It is real people. And a lot of people say like, oh, what'd you do? Go to YouTube University? Guess what, babes? If you know how to vet people and like look and make sure that you're talking, getting information from somebody who knows what they're talking about, that's actually a great way to learn. People are like, oh, you don't read. Okay, look, yes, reading is important and you got to definitely read sometimes. But also, some people learn better from videos. That's why people go to classes, right? Because you do the reading and then you go to the class where you get instructed by someone. But that's all, stuff that we are used to and stuff that has been normalized and formalized by the overculture. So going to a class is fine, right? But YouTube, well, that's just somebody who learned how to do a thing, maybe not from an accredited place or an accredited university. Maybe they don't have the right permits. Maybe they don't have the right diploma. How do you know, right? And then, of course, we all grow to distrust each other. We distrust the fact that we are the people that do everything in the end. At the end of the day, the government doesn't do anything for us at all. It does not. In fact, what it does, and when I say the government, I also mean things like Google, because it's the same thing, right? Fascism is the merger of corporate and state power. Hello. They don't do anything for us. We do it all. We can do it all without them. And the whole meme, oh, you're protesting capitalism, but you're doing it on an iPhone. Ha. Well, yeah, because that's what I got. Also, the iPhone, guess what? That was made by people. That was not made by a company. The internet, that was DARPA. That's public money, babes. Okay? So all of this belongs to us. Let me cut back to Venezuela. Our government has gone into Venezuela and not just attacked, but literally kidnapped the fucking leader of the country. Do y'all realize how, we're like, we're 5 days into this year? And already the fuckery is so high. Not only did they capture Maduro, they also, and maybe y'all didn't know this, but they paraded him through New York City in a van. Look it up. There on YouTube, where we are, there are videos of Maduro blindfolded, handcuffed in the back of a van with the doors open, flanked by soldiers, just giggling like they just won the lottery. Okay? Why did they do that? Why are they having the trial in New York City? Well, okay, yes, A lot of the courts are here in New York City, sure. New York is one of the two seats of imperial power. New York is such a contradiction in terms, right? It's the most cosmopolitan place. It's the place that everyone in the middle of the country fears. But it's also one of the two most important seats of imperial power. It's where Wall Street is. It's where a lot of the main courts are. But even more importantly than that, and listen, I don't have, evidence to support this yet. But I am very strongly sure that the reason that they paraded Maduro through the streets of New York City was not only just to flex their power and do mafia shit like they do, but also as a threat to our new mayor, Mamdani. They're like, if we can do this to somebody who doesn't even fucking live here, watch your ass. Think about it. That's what an abuser would do, right? Because they don't do it to you first. They'll do it to somebody else, and they'll be like, you see what I just did? You can get that next. And that's all this country does. Unless you think that this is just Trump, every president has done this. Every single president. Every single president has done this, y'all. Okay? This is not new. We are the world bully. Right? Have you ever played the game Civilization? This is a tie-in to gaming, but just bear with me, right? In the game Civilization, which is one of my favorite game series of all times, you are civilizations basically vying to colonize the world, right? Vying to control the world either through military, economic, cultural, religious, some kind of means. And what will happen in that game, right, is that there will be an independent city-state of some kind, and one of the greater powers will see some piece of, something on that land, right? Maybe it's oil, maybe it's copper, maybe it's, some luxury, whatever. And they'll attack it. And the rest of the world can decide, are we going to do something about this, or are we too afraid of the people attacking the city-state to do anything about it? And we see this play out the world over all the time. All the time. Darlings, what's happening in Venezuela, it's going to happen to other countries. I said, right around the time that video was being made, not quite then, after it was probably 2015-ish that I made this prediction. And people looked at me like I had just slipped every cog in my brain. I said that if Trump becomes president, at some point, Trump attacking Mexico is on the table. Do you believe me now? Venezuela, Colombia, Greenland, Mexico. It's a game of risk. Look at the map. Look at the map. Okay? When you are a person who thinks of the world as a plaything, who has been educated to believe that the world is your plaything, like people like Donald Trump, right? You just see things as pieces. Positionality pieces. Oh, well, if we had Greenland, then we'd have another stepping stone over to Europe. And, if we have Venezuela, then we can attack Cuba from both sides. And we can attack Mexico from both sides. It's all strategic, and it's really obvious. And here's the thing. We are the ones fueling the Death Star. And now here comes an indictment. And please don't get pissed off before you think about it. Because you're going to get pissed off. A lot of you. It is what it is. It's Capricorn season. I'm going to piss some people off. I'm sorry. Actually, and by sorry, I mean I'm not sorry. What did you do for the holidays? Did you do the same thing you always do? Did you go and hang out with a bunch of your family members and not talk politics because of tradition? Did you go travel with or without a mask on, spreading the flu and, of course, the disease which shall not be named, which is eating away at everybody's, immune systems? Or did you make this the first time that you decided to stand on business, hang out with your friends, your chosen family, or hang out with your birth family, but tell them, hey, guess what? We're doing things differently now. I can't be silent anymore. We're going to have to fucking talk about this. Racist Uncle Jim is either not allowed at the table, or I'm going to yell at him the whole time, or that motherfucker can't come. He has to sit at home by himself and think about his fucking choices that got us to this point. Did you do that? Because if not, guess what? You can be as mad as you want to at Trump for invading Venezuela, but you didn't do your part. Because the little bit that we each do adds up. We are the gears. We are the sprockets. Every dollar we spend, like I said last time, right? We should be appalled by the concept of single-use plastic. Yes, it should be available for people with disabilities, but those of us who don't need it should not ever use it. We should be like, absolutely not. And it's the same thing. Is the problem corporations? Yes. Right? But labor and consumption are the two ways that this society works, that capitalism works. It needs us to work, but there's a lot of us that are locked out of capitalist production. I myself subtracted myself from capitalism, essentially. I mean, obviously there's ways that we cannot. Like I say, every time I turn on a light switch, I am breaking my own values because all that money goes to fossil fuels. So, right. But I chose a profession that was not connected to any systems. I chose to work only with, to hire people, to give people jobs, to work in the community, right? I have made the choices in my own life. I am doing this basically for free because I believe in it and because I say that if you see something that must be done, you have to do it. But you have to do it. You, literally you, not just me, right? There's an Ani DeFranco quote. Ani DeFranco, don't even get me started on how she just became a white woman at some point. But anyway, the quote is, someone says to her, thanks for saying all the things I never do. And I say, thanks. Yeah, the thanks I get is to take all the shit for you. It's nice if you listen. It'd be better if you joined in. As long as you play their game, girl, you're never going to win. And going and sitting at those dinner tables, that's playing their game. It's playing their game. It's not just keeping tradition. And you know what? You don't have to do it. Listen to me. You can choose to act differently tomorrow. Whoever you have been, whatever you have done yesterday, you don't have to do that tomorrow, right? There is a fixed self, sort of, but not really. We get to decide every day how we want to show up, who we want to be, and we have to make that choice. We legitimately have to make that choice in every possible way, or we are cooked for real, because it's not going to stop at Venezuela. One thing really interesting about the most recent wave of Star Wars movies, the most interesting thing about it, first of all, look back at what George Lucas said about Star Wars. It was deliberately and intentionally, without any equivocation. It was a statement against Empire. A faceless white empire of stormtroopers going through the galaxy and taking over shit. This was somebody who was pushing back against Vietnam. And who were the heroes? The fucking Ewoks were basically the Viet Cong. They were the heroes. A ragtag group of multicultural people from every walk of life, every ethnicity, got together and took down the Empire. That was the message. Now, in the most recent ones, who's the villain? It's not the OG, it's a fanboy. It's a fanboy who keeps special relics of the OG because he idolizes him just that much. I have talked about this before. One of the only books we know our president to have read is a rare book of Mustache Man's speeches that he kept somewhere in his bedroom by his bedside. It was in the it was in the divorce proceedings from Ivana Trump that he kept this book there. The ballroom thing, look it up. Who else built a ballroom in the house of the people. Who else did that? Who else started by exporting their criminal element somewhere else before they started doing whatever they started doing to them? Who else did that? Okay? So this Venezuela thing, if you think it's isolated, if you think Congress is going to stop it, my friend, this is a very overused statement, but wake the fuck up, please. This is going to take us, and it's going to take all of us, and no one way will work. And there is a place for everyone. Okay? We've got a big show. It's going to have a lot of different things to bring you. A lot of it's just going to be stuff that I have produced over the years, because to start off this year, I wanted to just, share a little bit more of myself and just about the different things that I do, whether it's gaming, whether it's music, whether it's, there is a lot. There is a lot to share with you. And I have so many great, artists and activists and, content creators, performers in the wings who are going to be part of things coming up in the future. And this show will only grow if you help it to do so. And content creators, before I switch over, I want to remind you, and if you didn't know, tell you, that content creators at this point and this time have started having FBI people show up at their houses to question them, right? Ismatu, who a lot of you probably know and follow, who is amazing, was detained for a long fucking time coming back into the country. That's where we are. And as much as people like to denigrate content creation or, call people like myself just like internet yappers, we are doing the work that the mainstream media is supposed to be doing and did not. We saw a need and we filled it, right? I don't care if it's me. I don't care who it is. Support real people. Support artists. Support content creators. Support them, because guess what? Putting yourself out there is dangerous. It always has been, but now it really is. But you know what? We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep doing it, because that is the way that we can be we can bridge the gap between where we are and the future we need. And entertainment, education, art is part of the way to do that. No one way works, right? I'm not a soldier, or I'd be out there soldiering. But I can do the things that I can do. I can start a business. I can show people how to create gardens, right? There's a lot of things that I can do and I'm going to do. And I hope that you will join me and do the same. So, let's get into our very first segment, which is going to be, as always, the Astrological Weather Report by our very own Alice Pope of Alice Pope Astrology. MYSTRYXX, kick us off.
Well, Logan, I hope we've all gotten the chance to dry our tears from that very emotional full moon in Cancer this past Saturday, because this, my friends, is a week to get shit done. We've had a chance to get in touch with our emotions and focus on self-care, and now it's time to get down to business thanks to a very curious configuration in Cardinal Capricorn that's dominating the skies this week. We got a pileup of conjunctions with Venus, the Sun, and Mars all sitting on top of each other in Capricorn and opposite Jupiter to boot. Let's dive into these juicy details. Now, the sky is pretty quiet today, Monday, January 5th. The moon is still in Leo as of yesterday. Tomorrow morning, the moon is moving into analytical, detail-oriented Virgo. But first, things are ramping up as the Sun and Venus are conjunct each other at 16 degrees of Capricorn. And folks, this is where I feel like the new year is really starting. We've had our fun, hopefully enjoyed the winter holidays, maybe done some self-indulgent lazing around, and I love that for us. I really, truly do. But Capricorn wants enjoyment of a different kind. It wants the pleasure of a job well done, doing the hard thing, being mature and hardworking and responsible, building something that we actually truly care about. And that's the focus of this week as the sun draws our attention to Venus in Capricorn. This is a good time to reflect and plan and restructure, to realistically consider our values and where they currently stand, to prioritize what we actually really want to focus on today, this week, this month, this year. This is a chance to focus on serious commitment in our relationships, to look at our finances with a pragmatic eye, to work hard on our creative projects. Whatever you're doing, the cardinal earth sign of Capricorn wants us to get shit started in the material world. Now, on Wednesday, January 7th, Venus is going to move forward slightly to make a conjunction with Mars at 18 degrees of Capricorn. Now we're introducing the planet of action, will, desire, and motivation into this mix. Mars is the planet of going after what we want. It's the planet that has to do with our relationships to fear and courage. Ooh. So Wednesday might just be the day to bravely address an issue that's come up in one of your relationships. This could be a good day to take a calculated financial risk, especially in strategic Capricorn. Maybe we're using that go-getting Mars energy to go after one of our Venusian artistic goals. Whatever you use this transit for, make sure you're taking action on your values and working to build more connection and justice in our world. Lovely. At worst, though, I must say this Venus-Mars conjunction could just look like relational conflict and arguments coming up. So try to channel that energy into something constructive if you can. And now, folks, I gotta say, fuck the gender binary, truly and for real. But I would be remiss if I didn't just mention that Venus is traditionally associated with femininity and Mars is traditionally associated with masculinity, as you can tell by their little symbols, right? So as these two planets come together as one, first of all, I just want to give a shout out to all the queer, trans, non-binary cutie folks out there. Love y'all. And tell you that this can be a really fun opportunity to play with gender, to try things out, to maybe change up how you're presenting if you've been feeling curious about that. Whatever it is, this can be a chance to integrate greater wholeness with all the different gendered parts of ourselves. And I haven't really been hearing any other astrologers talk about that aspect of this Venus-Mars conjunction this week, so you're welcome. Moving on over to Thursday, January 8th, we'll catch our breath, get a bit of a break on this day as the moon moves into lovely Libra, highlighting this week's Venusian themes of balance and connection. So that's nice. And then on Friday, January 9th, things are going to get pretty interesting. First, the sun will be conjunct Mars early in the morning at a little over 19 degrees of Capricorn. And the traditional astrologers say that Mars is exalted in Capricorn. And that's because this strategic, goal-oriented sign is so good at harnessing, directing, and focusing all of that Mars energy in constructive ways. And as we've been clarifying our values and our priorities thanks to Venus, now we're called to put them into action with courage and integrity, to claim our righteous rage at the big picture injustices happening in our world, to fight for what's right, for what we believe in, for the legacy we're leaving behind, and for the future that we're building together. Now, meanwhile, Venus will move into 20 degrees of Capricorn, meaning that it's now exactly opposite to Jupiter, sitting retrograde at 20 degrees of Cancer. Folks, I call Jupiter the cosmic magnifying glass. This giant gas planet has a way of expanding anything that it touches. And even though an opposition like this always carries an element of tension and balance for us to manage, that said, any contact with Jupiter can bring a sense of buoyancy and abundance, so hey, I'll fucking take it. As we're working hard with our focus over in Capricorn, Jupiter in Cancer just reminds us that we still need to feel our feelings, drink water, eat, sleep, connect with others, and take care of ourselves. Jupiter in Cancer helps us to maintain a sense of compassion and connection to our intuition, even with practical Capricorn steering the ship. Cancer and Capricorn both have to do with boundaries. Cancer is the crab's shell, the wall around your home that makes you feel safe and secure, whereas Capricorn is like the hermit on the mountaintop or the closed door to your office. It's about the boundaries you put up so that you can prioritize and focus on what is truly important to you. So these Capricorn-Cancer oppositions are giving us a chance to recalibrate our boundaries and our work-life balance, balance being a key theme of Venus, in whatever ways are relevant to each one of us. We're fine-tuning a bit here. An opposition to Venus can always indicate some relational challenges, but Jupiter just might bring us more abundance and opportunity in our relationships, creativity, and finances and other Venusian themes. So that sounds pretty great to me. And we're not done yet, y'all, because on Saturday, January 10th now, it's the Sun's turn to oppose Jupiter at those same degrees, followed in short order by Mars on the same day. So we're really getting a healthy dose of Jupiter's hope, faith, and resilience this weekend, watering those roots so that the branches can grow and flourish, right? Jupiter supports us in taking strategic risks, being bold, and going for our goals. You just want to make sure that you stay a bit grounded in that earthy Capricorn energy and not get too overinflated or unrealistic with your plans, the way Jupiter can just kind of balloon things out of proportion. Remember that it's all about balance, y'all. And then finally, on the morning of Sunday, January 11th, the moon moves into sultry, spooky Scorpio, and then we'll experience a wee bit of foreshadowing for the next week as Venus moves to 22 degrees of Capricorn and settles into a square with Chiron at 22 degrees of Aries. A square to the wounded healer? What can go wrong, right? Really, though, this transit can definitely bring up some friction in our relationships, touch our kind of deep, sensitive, wounded parts. It can upset our internal emotional regulation, and just having us really feeling some type of way about the Venusian topics that we've been focusing on all week. So Sunday is a good day to just be gentle with yourself and others, leaning into that chironic compassion that is the gift of suffering. And this is foreshadowing because with the Sun and Mars so close on Venus's heels in Capricorn here, they'll be forming their own squares to Chiron early next week. But you'll have to come back next Monday to hear all about that, because that's this week's astrological weather report. I'm Alice Pope. Logan, back to you.
If I must die, you must live, to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some string, make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his father who left in a blaze, and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite. My kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope, let it be a tale. Wow!
I put it to the side of the stove. Oh. I don't think either of us got hit in that whole exchange. What happened? I know a few 10-cent words that I can break out to keep up with her. But you can take what I know about love and drown it in the sink. I know my way around a tune. Won't be a single dry eye in the room. Oh, but you can take what I know about you and make me feel a small balloon. But I'm just dumb enough to try to keep you in my life for a little while longer. And I'm insane enough to think I'm gonna get out with my skin and start my life again.
All right, I hope you have been enjoying our show so far. That was a little bit of me singing Father John Misty in the shower. I sing all the time, basically. If when I'm walking around, if I'm not talking or something, or someone are listening to music, or listening to like a podcast, I'm probably singing or like have songs stuck in my. You ever wake up and just have a song so stuck in your head in the middle of the night that you have to do something about it? You have to sing it, or you have to I have to sometimes get up and listen to a song to get it out of my head in like the middle of the night. Well, okay, let's be frank. It's the middle of the morning because, I be going to bed at don't worry about me. Anyway, let's get to this week's Lara Listens, a segment in which I bring you a couple of records from my vinyl collection and talk a little bit about them and share with you some things that you may have known, some things you may not have known. Because why? Because we need physical media. Because we have to have physical media. Because we don't have enough ways of keeping the music and the art and the shows and all of that have meant so much to our lives. Remember, art doesn't belong to the overculture, but they've captured it. The fact that you need a streaming service to see a show, to watch a movie that you know exists, you know it's out there somewhere, right? But you can't get it illegally. And so you have to go to one of them to get it. Bullshit. Have physical media. And how else are we going to share gems like on the radio? Donna Summer Greatest Hits. Remember, some people don't like Greatest Hits albums. Me? Fucking love them. I love them. Why would you not want an album of all of the best shit by one of your favorite artists? I simply don't understand the logic. I think it's a purist thing. Anyway, if you don't know, Donna Summer is the fucking queen of disco. Okay? The late 70s absolutely belonged to her. I'm sure you know some of these songs, right? We're talking about, it's called On the Radio because On the Radio was one of the big ones. Also, the one that you, listen, Love to Love You, Baby. Love to Love You, Baby. One of the hottest songs, ever. And it was listen, in the 70s, in the mid to late 70s on the dance floor, I bet when that song came on, everybody was full of cocaine and dreams, okay? So, I don't know. Something was going on that dance floor. That's all I'm saying. Not just Love to Love You, Baby, but also the full-length version of Love to Love You, Baby. It's 15 minutes long. Amazing. I Feel Love is even if you're sober, but especially if you're not, but even if you're sober, on the dance floor, I Feel Love comes on, you're going to be dancing, and you're just gonna feel good. It's a song that makes everybody just feel good. It's just such a great, and I mean, obviously the groove is grooving. Okay, obviously Last Dance. Last Dance is, I mean, unfortunately, Last Dance is probably best known for like middle school dances and fucking like white people weddings at this point. But well, okay, not just white people weddings in general. But that's the song that DJs play when they're like, all right, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the fuck up out of here. But The Last Dance, it's a great song in its own right. And I think one of the great things about listening to older music is to disentangle it from the sillier permutations that it has gotten to, right? It gets divorced from, it's like, you don't think of being in the 70s at a club where somebody's literally spinning this song on vinyl and you're just in there sweating, probably with a head full of cocaine and like just getting loose on the dance floor. You don't think about that. You think about, some goofy wedding you went to. But that's, this song is culture, right? And even in the silly ways, it is another way that Black people have contributed to creating American culture in really important ways, where it's like, this is just something that is so ubiquitous at this point that everybody fucking knows it. Another great one is Dim All the Lights. And listen, hot stuff, baby, this evening, looking for some hot stuff. All these songs, I mean, one person having this many hits, bananas. And not just hits because they're hits because they were good, right? Dance. Let's put some, I'm telling you, while you're cleaning, while you're just chilling, put some of these on and dance around your house. Give Donna Summer her flowers, okay? Because she's the queen of disco. Unquestioned, unparalleled queen of disco. And, there is no equal. Let's get on to the next one, which is, yes, Back to Black by Miss Amy Winehouse. Member of the 27 Club, unfortunately, Earth Sign royalty, which we will talk about. This album really exemplifies the combination of power and pain that she contained, that she communicated, right? And also it was very much, the lyrics are some of the most, like, a lot of the time when people fuck up or are being fucked up, they won't own up to it. And who knows what she did in her personal life, I don't know. But there is an owning in some ways of the ways that she was being fucked up in her relationships. Like the song, That I'm No Good. It's like, I cheated myself like I knew I would. Like it's an admission of, and don't you just wish that people were more in touch with themselves enough to the point where they could be like, I've been saying this a lot recently. People got a real bad time being criticized, feeling criticized, especially white people, full shade. But like, y'all are so used to being coddled and babied that when someone literally points you at you, you get mad at them and freak out. That's also white supremacy, babes. Just so you know. Like, that fragility is what causes y'all to go along with bullshit. Because that if Uncle Jim feels like you, he would rather be keel-hauled than have his own behavior directed at him. And y'all will be quiet because you're like, well, I don't want somebody calling me out on my shit, so I'm just not going to say anything. It's bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. When someone is loving enough to point you at you, you should at least, if it's somebody that actually cares about you, take it. Take it in. Take the L. Take the L and be like, you know what? You got that. You got that. I did, in fact, sleep with your best friend, and that wasn't great. Okay. Okay. I'm not going to defend myself. You're right. Anyway, long tangent. But that I'm no good. Listen, Back to Black, just a great song. Her voice is, again carries that you know, that power and that pain in it. And this album is like, you know, clearly the work of someone who had gone through it and was still going through it and was just in a place where they were hurting themselves, you know, through a lot of their habits. Like they try to make me go to rehab. Well, anyway, me and Mr. Jones. Okay. Here's a little trivia. Tell me in the chat, does anyone know who Me and Mr. Jones is about? Do you know? I'm gonna give it a couple of minutes, you know, to see if anyone can come up with the answer. It's about a famous person, but someone you may not have expected. Someone you may not have expected at all. Okay. It is about Nasir Jones, aka Nas. That is the Mr. Jones in Me and Mr. Jones. Now, they were just friends by all accounts. They only met once in person, though they did Skype and talk all the time. Like the two had a really strong connection. And one of the lyrics in it is Mr. Destiny 9 and 14. Destiny was the name of his daughter, and 9 and 14 was a reference to September 14th, which was the birthday that Amy Winehouse and Nas shared. So it's like, look it all up, you know, don't take my word for it. I mean, why would I make this up? But also, you know, like I say, you don't have to take my word for stuff. Like everything I say is something that you can look up and find out that it's true. If you look in, don't go on like freedom.eagle. You know, Uncle Jim, okay? Like, for real. Also, you don't even have to go on Google. Go on DuckDuckGo. I have not Googled anything, personally, in years. Haven't missed it. Anyway, yes, it's about Nas. They met and they had like an instant connection. Do I think that she obviously had a fucking crush on him? Yes. I mean, who writes, I mean, come on, let's be serious. Be serious. But anyway. Tears dry on their own. You know that I'm no good. But the song that I sometimes, if I'm in the wrong mood, I have to skip is Love is a Losing Game, because it is just too much. It's so powerful of a song, and it's like, you know, just when stuff is not going right for you and feels like it never will in relationships. And whether, you know, and love relationships especially, when it's just like you just keep having the same shit happen to you. Like you listen to this song and you're like, you know what, you're fucking right. You know, it's a beautiful song, beautifully sung. Prince actually loved the song so much that Prince covered it a bunch in live shows, and they once actually performed it together. Prince like rewrote it so that, you know, so that he could get his 2 guitar solos in, because I mean, hello, he's Prince. But they did it together, and she sang The Lights Down and he played The Lights Down. There's only one recording of it from like a phone. The quality is terrible, but the fact that it exists is that's the kind of music history that I feel like just is the reason that we have YouTube, is the reason that things need to be preserved and archived. Because that moment, it was at a, you know, Prince was known for these like late night after hours shows, like after the shows, and this happened there. But the lyrics of Love is a Losing Game, it's like, just the last lyrics are, I was gonna sing it, but I'm not gonna do that, because it makes me, I get like 3 feelings a year, and this song gives me like 2 of those feelings. Over futile odds and laughed at by the gods, and now the final frame. Love is a losing game. Damn, girl, why? And then also, I guess what adds a little bit of, you know, a little bit more emotional volume to it is the fact that she died so young from alcohol poisoning, because she was in a lot of pain and was not for nothing. Listen, Virgo people, as quiet as is kept, Virgos be fucking hellraisers, okay? Like, don't get it twisted. The Virgo virgin thing, that's not what that means, okay? Like people who are underage at the club, people who are starting shit. Like sometimes Virgo gets the ick. It's because they're done with you. No shade, but full shade. I'm just saying. Okay. Anyway. That is Lara Listens for this episode. I hope that you will, to steal a quote from the charismatic voice, I hope you fall more in love with music every day, because music is so important. It is a way that we have of communicating through time and through, across languages. People that don't speak the same language will just learn by the sound because it speaks to them. And that's beautiful, for lack of a better word. And something that needs to be preserved. So, get you a record, get you an MP3 player, get you some real music. Save it and share it. MYSTRYXX, take us into the next segment.
Problem with growing up in like a heroism culture, in a saviorism culture, is that we don't all realize how much the little bit that we can do on a daily basis actually matters. We know all the big names and all the heroes and the people who are in the front throwing Molotov cocktails, but not about the people who helped them get there, the people who made sure they had food, the people who were in the back on jail support, etc., etc. Friends, we are in such a moment of global catastrophe that it's not just about what's happening in the Middle East, it's about everything that's happening. And this is an exercise in getting us all to flex A, our collective power, and B, our flexibility and ability to respond to circumstances, to do everything that we can at a moment's notice. And we shouldn't be expecting any of us to do everything. We shouldn't be expecting ourselves to do everything. Real practical with it, right? If you can't call out of work, you can definitely shop somewhere else that day, not shop that day. Why don't you carpool with someone? If you know people in your neighborhood are going to the same place or whatever, drive together. There are so many little things that you can do that will contribute to a slowdown. They are so individualized that we forget that the people at the top, they don't care about any of us individually. They care about the overall trend, and they will see an overall trend of us spending our money different, not going to work, doing all the things that we can do. Are you willing to fight? Are you willing to take part in a global movement to make the changes that we need? Because this is the moment. This is the time.
The destruction of property is usually viewed as violent only if it disrupts profits or the maintenance of wealth. If food is destroyed because it cannot be sold while people go hungry, that is not considered violent under the norms of capitalism. If a person's belongings are tossed on a sidewalk during an eviction and consequently destroyed, that is likewise not considered violent according to the norms of this society. Under capitalism, peace is the maintenance of violence on the state's terms. Our goal should be interdependence, to be part of a community where rescue is viewed not as exceptional, but as something that we owe each other. It's not saviorism, but instead collectivity and solidarity that will fuel this revolution. Wow!
Okay, darlings, that brings us to almost the end of this episode of the Focused on Infinity Hour, more or less. I wanted to end by sharing with you the 12 values, and briefly as I can, give you my feeling as to why these are the 12 values that together will create the world that we want, and why they are each important, and each you can't extract any single one of them, because if you do, that's where the overculture starts creeping into you. Anti-capitalism, obviously, number one, right? Number one, because capitalism is the consolidation of power and the belief that you can enclose the commons, people own it, and everyone else has to buy it or rent out themselves to them for some wage every day, rather than everybody on the planet getting to partake in and share in the world's wealth. Because that's what we're supposed to do. We were born on this planet. We should get access to the planet. Hello. Anti-racism. Not just not being racist, but being anti-racist, right? Because racism is in everything. There's a white creator whose name I forget, but she makes content about, why she has to like gentle parent white people talking about racism, because the only thing that a lot of white folks think is racism is like the really wild overt shit, when like using the N-word in a rap song because they said it is, and white people are like, oh, but they said it, like I'm not saying it to any. Shut up, please. Some words aren't yours, some things aren't yours, you don't get to use them. All of it, everything. And look, not just anti-blackness, right? Anti-blackness is just one part of anti-racism, but like, there's Asian hate, right? There's all of these things, all of these different forms of racism, all of which have come down through, the spread of capitalism and whiteness and colonialism. But anti-racism, you have to be anti-racist, right? You have to be. Decolonialism. Decolonialism is the hole in the boat for a lot of, frankly, like, Marxist-Leninist types, for a lot of people who have great politics, great theory, but forget that the people just taking over the factories and continuing to do the same thing the factories are doing, well, that's bullshit too, right? Because we can't keep extracting from the world like this. We have to have indigenous leadership, right? And indigenous leadership just means people who were born in and know a place being the ones to say, hey, think of it as the way I conceived it in something I made a while back. It's called Visions of New Lenape. Look it up. But it, working it into some framework of the world that we understand, it would be something like an Indigenous Land Stewardship Bureau, right? Instead of going to the Bureau of Public Works or to land management or whatever, you would go to the indigenous people of an area and be like, hey, we want to build this building. And they would say like, okay, well, you can't build it here because this is where migratory patterns are. This is where this river goes. This is, putting that plant here is going to fuck up the ecosystem. And through that, continuing to be able to advance society in conjunction with the needs of nature, and therefore have a sustainable world that continues to provide for us forever. I mean, it should be obvious, right? Unfortunately not. Anti-imperialism. I mean, going into another country, saying that it is because they're narco-terrorists or something, literally, I can't get over how wild it is that we have to talk about us sending in troops and kidnapping the leader of a different country and then parading him through the streets of our country and putting him on trial in a country he's not from for stealing oil from us that is underneath the ground where he lives. Is it me? Is it me? Anti-imperialism. War is the great evil. Period. Intersectional and decolonial feminism. If your feminism is like turfy, it's bullshit, right? Because who else likes to define women based on their ability to bear children, on what their body looks like, on misogynists, babes. Intersectional and decolonial feminism acknowledges the role of women and of femmes and of femininity in human history, and that it can be whatever the people want it to be, right? That there are many, many different roles, many different gender roles, and that, of course, look, get mad at me if you want, okay? All the fucking Abrahamic religions, which we'll get to later, are misogynist as all hell, Okay, it's just not okay to have different rules for someone based on what they got in their swimsuit area. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, unless you're of course trying to control. The weirdest thing to me, not the weirdest thing, but the most insidious thing is that it's like how the grossest men in the world refer to women as females. The reason that's so gross and causes such a visceral ick reaction is because you only refer to animals based solely on sex, binary sex at that, which also doesn't exist in nature, but you know what I mean? If you intend to view them as chattel, if the only thing you're thinking about them is whether or not you could have sex with them or they could bear offspring, potentially, that's fucking creepy, right? It's creepy. It's creepy. Disability justice. Disability justice, y'all. Like a lot of us, going back to something about we talked about last week or the week before. Michael Jackson. This was a person who had vitiligo that people didn't believe him about, had an autoimmune disease that people didn't believe him about, right? That ended up leading, people believed all kinds of weird stuff about him rather than just understand that disability exists and that it affects people and that there are ways that people are dealing with it quietly because this world is not built to care about disability. And that also includes things like understanding people's neurotypes and making accommodations for those and letting people be who they are based on those things. It also accounts for, like I said earlier, the conversation about plastic straws. Yes, they should be available for disabled people who need them. Of course they should. Of course there should be ramps everywhere. And also, if we take care of disabled people, it makes life easier for all of us, right? There are tools that everyone uses that we only have because they were made with disability in mind, right? So obviously disability justice is a big part of it. There's more to all of these things, but I'm trying to go as quickly as I can. Pro queerness, say hey, yes to being gay, okay? Like, everyone should be able to explore their gender, their sexuality, all of that in whatever terms they seek, okay? There is a quote from, I believe it's actually Aleister Crowley: every man, woman, and any intermediately sexed person should be able to experience themselves and enjoy any means soever of themselves and of love and of sexuality without any, as long as everyone is a willing and adult and agreeing party. That's it. That's it. Because it's another vector of control, right? And the Abrahamic religions really get into it heavy, but not even originally, but like the way that they're used now. You know what I mean? Say hey, say yes to being gay. I mean, listen, maybe you're not gay, maybe you're straight. That's fine, but just whatever. Just keep quiet about it. In addition to that, separate from that, sex positivity. Listen. This is one that gets a lot of y'all fucked up, okay? Because you think you're sex positive, but what it just means is like you are okay with the fact that you have sex or that you like sex. But do you demonize people desiring to have sex? Do you think that the desire to have sex with someone is perhaps a sinister motivation, an inherently bad motivation? Like that it's somehow weird or bad to desire to have sex with someone else? Of course it's not, right? Now, of course, if someone is a creep, doesn't take no for an answer, whatever, it's a, thoroughly inappropriate, whatever, that, of course, that's the problem, right? But being sex positive means that no one can, slut shaming, right? All of that stuff, all of that is yet another way that people will punch down on sex workers, on people who they view as promiscuous, right? And even will deny themselves their own desires. And the desire for human touch and for sexuality, that's a need, that's not a want. And like a lot of people are walking around fucking pent up and angry and trying to get everybody else to feel like they do because they're just tight like a fist about the whole thing because they think it's something dirty. And it's one of the, I mean, you know, food, sex, and sleep are the great joys of life. Like, come on, don't deprive yourself. And don't be weird about it. And also, tied into that, there is an attachment of desire for sexuality to the masculine, and that's weird and also misogynistic, even if you are a woman or a femme, right? Because all humans have desire for that. Think about it. Think about it. ACAB. Do I need to get into that one? I mean, they are the reason that all of these petty lordlings can continue to destroy our lives. It's because they have, and ACAB also includes samurai. They were cops. Knights. The knights were cops, right? These were all the cops. These were all the people who, for the king, for the lord, would go around taking the taxes, doing whatever they wanted to the people, beating them, stealing them, and also the ones who, you know, when they enclosed the commons, who enforced that. ACAB, 1312. 1312 Chronicles. Next is, we're almost done, witchcraft and decolonized spirituality. Now listen, a lot of y'all have become atheists after deconstructing from Christianity or Judaism or Islam, and that's a great start. But the spiritual is so important, right? Witchcraft itself really is like, you know, when you're talking about witchcraft, you're talking about the OG science, the OG medicine, right? And not just that, but beyond the practical, the connection with spirit that we all need and we all have, and maybe have just cut ourselves off from because we don't believe in our magic. I am a witch. I'm proudly a witch. I do spell work and magic basically every day of my life, and I recommend it. I recommend it because getting in touch with spirituality that is disconnected from the systems is a way for you to get in touch with yourself and to be connected with the divine, because there is a divine spark to this existence. There's something fucking beautiful there that we shouldn't cut ourselves off to and just declare it purely mechanistic. Pandemic conscious, public health. Look, I know it's easier to move on, pretend like it's okay, like, well, whatever, I just get sick once in a while, but like, no, see, we are public health now. Public health isn't the CDC. Public health isn't the NIH. Public health is the public taking care of each other's fucking health. And I simply don't understand why this is one of the more difficult ones for people to get. Okay? You want to talk about the 70s? It's a good time to remind y'all that not AIDS, but HIV started spreading in the 70s. Okay? It didn't start spreading in the 80s. It started spreading in the 70s. And some people got a little sniffle. Some people got a little sick, but no big deal. And then 10 years later, 5 years later, 8 years later, however many years later, it becomes AIDS. Because with viruses are like terrifying, y'all. They're these like, are they proteins? Are they like biological programming? Whatever the fuck they are, the initial effects and the long-term effects are not the same thing. COVID is so new that we haven't had 10 years to see what happens yet. But we do have science telling us how damaging it is to immune systems. We have that science. Peer-reviewed science from everywhere. But a lot of y'all are just ignoring it because you'd rather go to fucking Applebee's. And weird, couldn't be me. But more important is public health. Right? I need you strong. I need you as healthy as you can be. Because we got to fight. Because we've got to fight. We have a long fight ahead of us. And if it's eating away at us and we're not taking care of each other, that's the first thing, is to take care of each other. And if we have health, if we don't have health, what do we got? What do we got, really? And last, the last one, revolutionary love is the 12th value. Because what's the fucking point of all this if not to show each other how much we love each other? How much we love this life? How much we love the brilliant fucking experience of getting to be on this planet and feel the sun and taste different foods, hear different music, listen to touch each other, right? These are miracles. It is such a wonder to be able to be involved in the process of living and of fighting. And of, there's just so much to be joyful about in the simple experience of living. And sharing that, and wanting to share that with each other, and wanting to share that, more importantly, with the future, is what revolutionary love is all about. And revolutionary love is not weak. It's about fighting for the things that you love. Right? Love is an action verb. Love is something that you do. Love is something that you are. It is something you embody. It is not something merely that you feel. Because in the end, your feelings are for you. They're only about you. It's your actions that actually make a difference, that are going to make a change in this world. And with that, those are the 12 values that I hope that y'all will share and try to, and look, we all fall short every day and in every way, in some way. But it's aspirational, right? These are not rules or laws. They're values, right? They're things to aspire to and to think about as you create your life. The one life that you know that you will get. And I want to spend that life loving and living and fighting and creating and just being a general menace to all the systems that have made this world so fucked up. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad to bring you another episode. This is our 5th episode. Please do share the stream with people and tell people about it. And if you have something you'd like to contribute, right? Maybe you make animations. Maybe you have a song that you've done. Maybe you have like a weird routine that you want to do. Hit us up. Send it to us. Maybe we'll show it on our show. Because the other thing is, we want to help promote your art and the artists that create this community, the broader House of Infinity, Focused on Infinity community, right? I put this thing together not for me, but because I know there are other people like me who look at the world and say, you know what, I don't want what's being offered to me. I don't want the NFL. Yeah, I'm a musician, but I don't want the Tonys or the Grammys. That seems bullshit to me, right? I want people to be able to bring their talents directly to each other. And this is just one platform to do that, just one way to do that. So, thank you again. Please check out my Linktree, and if you can support me by becoming a patron, I would really appreciate it, because the more support I get, the more I can focus on doing these things, and the more I can continue to build in all the ways that I do, because that's what I do, even though I'm going to do it anyway, because, again, that's what I do. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, as always, to Alice Pope of Alice Pope Astrology, and to my excellent, excellent collaborator, MYSTRYXX. MYSTRYXX, take us out for the night.